My name's Monk Rowe, and we're in the Jazz Archive Room at Hamilton College, and I'm pleased to have Hide Tanaka here with me today, visiting with Junior Mance.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You said the last interview you did was with Russian television?
In Tel Aviv.
In Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. We had, Junior had a concert last October in Israel. We had like 7 concerts. Yeah, Israel.
Well, I wanted to start out, I saw something on your website that I thought was well said. Someone was talking about you, and it talked about when you finally got to New York. He started the jazz life that he had always dreamed of. So you had always dreamed of a jazz life. From what age did you start to dream of a jazz life?
Yes, sometime, so high school, that means 16 years old. Also, I started learn acoustic bass. Before that, I played just rock music, guitar, electric bass. You know, my generation in Japan, mostly 90% of the kids is rock kids. Yeah, not jazz at that time.
Not what?
Not jazz music.
Not jazz.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because it's a question I wanted to ask. So this was, you were born in 1956?
56, yeah.
So you're talking maybe 1970-ish?
Yeah, 70s.
You were playing rock music?
Yeah, just kid. Not with the band. So just myself, rock, blues.
What were some of the artists that you were playing? The music from?
Yeah, I like first B.B. King, the blues, and then so many rock band, Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin?
Zeppelin and Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah.
That era. Yeah. Chicago, Blood, Sweat and Tears, those band. Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah.
And how did you hear this music? Did you buy LPs?
Yeah. Always, American or English, the pop charts just came to Japan. So actually, American hit song and England rock hit song is almost same time in Japan, big hit too. Yeah.
Did you and your friends speak English at that time?
No, when I came to New York, I couldn't speak anything, couldn't read.
I find it really fascinating that you were listening to American rock and roll sung in English.
Yeah.
When you played it, did you sing it in Japanese?
No. Just I imitate guitar. Yeah. I really don't know what they singing or anything.
You were just the guitar player. Were you playing electric bass, or
sometimes electric bass?
But you played rock and roll guitar then.
Yeah.
That's really. I just find that fascinating. How the world is very small now with music. It gets spread around so much.
Right.
If someone came to your country, an American came to your country, and wanted to hear traditional Japanese music, what does that consist of?
Like Japanese traditional instrumental, most popular things is kind of flute. So many, those with woodwind, right?
Yes, woodwind.
Japanese, like pentatonic.
Yes.
So they cannot play any like 12 notes with those. It's possible, but it's very difficult.
Okay.
And three strings instrumental we call shamisen, like a play like this.
Yeah.
And tsudumi, the percussion. Tsudumi.
Okay.
Yeah, like a yo, pong.
Oh.
That kind of sound. Yeah.
And taiko
taiko
drum?
too. Taiko
drumming.
drum.
Right.
Yeah. We don't have much instrumental, Japanese.
And does that kind of music get performed in
Yeah,
Japan?
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, my mother was a shamisen player.
Oh,
Yeah.
how do you spell that?
Shamisen, Shamisen, shamisen.
Okay.
Yeah, that mean in the three taste strings. Three taste
Taste.
strings. Three different taste strings. Yeah.
Wow.
So shamisen.
Yeah.
Meaning, yeah.
So, you went from rock and roll
Mhm,
to
rock,
jazz
yeah.
music, and
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Like after I'm listening rock music, sometimes getting tired. It's the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the rock music is more like a performance, not just to practice the instrument. I really want to play instrumental, not too much like a performer,
Okay.
Hey, everybody, like this. I'm not that kind of person.
Okay.
And so, sometime, I went to Japanese jazz club with my friend, and just curious what is jazz. And at that time, first time I heard acoustic bass, and kind of fell in love. I don't know who was bass player. Even I don't care who was playing, but just I like this acoustic bass sound. Then there is just jazz music at that time. Already rock music using electric bass, and okay, I should play jazz music. And I started curious what is jazz music.
Yeah.
Then after I had idea, about improvisation, you can change everything, and improvise. I really love the way how to construct jazz music. So that's why this is my stuff. So I saw.
How did you go about learning it?
Yeah, I had a private teacher, jazz bass player,
Okay.
and he also taught me a basic classical etude. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was it something you could get on the radio?
Not radio, from the record.
Right.
Yeah, I bought a lot of the jazz record,
Yeah.
and transcribe myself.
Transcribed the bass parts.
Bass part, yeah. And sometimes, like any other instrument for my solo. Solo and bass playing, it's different.
Yes.
And yeah, I transcribe from so many bass solo too, but I transcribe guitar player or horn player, trumpet player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is jazz popular in Japan?
Yeah. I read the history of jazz in Japan. They in the book said even before World War One,
Wow.
already Japanese jazz singer existed.
Ah.
And at that time they went to Shanghai, because Shanghai is the colony of England, right, or something like that.
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is an English jazz band.
That's right. In fact, a fellow named Buck Clayton
Oh, really?
played in Shanghai like
Oh.
in the 30s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Eiji Kitamura?
Yeah.
He told a very interesting story about some of the musicians heard it over the radio, the United States
Mm-hmm.
radio.
Mm-hmm.
The name is escaping me now, but they had the military had their own radio station,
Yeah, I heard.
and they would hear it from that source.
Yeah, but my generation is always rock music.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much jazz.
Mhm.
Already, yeah.
So you were born
56.
10 years
Mhm.
after the end of World War
Yes,
II.
yes.
And is there any, in your experience growing up, what was the memory of World War II? Did it influence your life at all?
No.
No.
Uh,
It was,
Now, after 10 years mean no more after war era. No more after war era. Yeah, totally different kind of generation.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have any idea about the war or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So American means rock star or a movie star. Americans.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not as enemy or anything.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But your parents didn't talk about it too much?
My father didn't went to war. Doesn't went to war. He is an instructor for the glider airplane. He taught that thing in Japan. So
I see.
and mostly Japanese people knew Japanese army is crazy. So because nobody thought, who has a mind, nobody thought that war able to win generally in Japan. But nobody said it, because if you said military came to you and go to jail.
I see.
So nobody said, so that's why people thought those armies crazy,
They thought the army was crazy
Very
for
crazy.
engaging in such a thing.
Such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Did your parents, what did they think of your fascination with jazz?
Yeah. My father is a very strict person. Very down to earth. Just go to the university and have a some job. And my mother. Yeah, played
But she played,
shamisen.
yes.
But always my father's is a kind of upper hand, so I must follow whatever my father did. But my mother passed away when I was 17 years old. At that time, my father's friend said to him, "So let your son do what he wants." So especially this kind of occasion, my mother passed away when I was 17. So then he asked me, do you have anything to, do? And yeah, of course. Before that, I told him, I want to play music, but well, what for? How much money you can make? How's the insurance?
How's the insurance?
No way from his mind. So, but after my mother passed away, so he kind of softened.
Oh.
Then after that, everything fine.
It's interesting, because I almost would have guessed that he would have got more strict with you.
No.
I'm glad that happened then. So it got to a certain point, and you started to think, I need to go to the United States.
Yeah. Because I play any kind of music, Japanese pop music, Japanese kind of rock music, jazz, even jazz, like a swing to free jazz in Japan,
Say that again?
Swing jazz to free jazz, avant-garde jazz.
Uh-huh.
So I did everything in Japan. And anyway, jazz is American music. And between Japanese people, play with Japanese people, and audience, everybody Japanese people, and saying so many critical things each other. And I started thinking, really? Then I thought, if I went to New York, and if those great artists said same things, maybe I agree, but I don't know. They're really those things. And when I came to New York, totally different. Jazz music, I heard jazz and, about the life of the jazz musician, I saw in New York. Then I understand what kind of jazz music. It's a totally
the
different.
Jazz Mission was a theater or something? Or maybe I misunderstood you.
No. When I came to New York, and I'm listening real jazz, real great jazz people.
Okay.
And I saw their life, private life.
Yeah.
Then, Japanese jazz means just Japanese music. They play jazz, but, spirit is totally different.
Oh.
Japan is Japan, of course.
Oh, okay.
So kind of really open up, so. Yeah.
Did you have money saved up when you came here to try to?
I didn't want to go like I couldn't bear in Japan something. can't bear in Japan, sometime, because so frustrated, people saying so much things about jazz music, and I couldn't get it. So I sometimes kind of snapped, I want to go New York. And I solved everything,
Wow.
And within the month, even I couldn't speak English or couldn't read anything, but I really wanted to go to New York.
Wow. Do you mind telling that green card story again? Because I found that fascinating.
So therefore, I don't have any money, anything. Just came to United States as a tourist, 3 month visa.
Oh, a 3-month visa.
Then
Okay.
I thought, I don't have money and I don't have much time to earn the money because I want to really study jazz music. So I'm just overstay, and I couldn't get out because, therefore, I couldn't get out from the United States because I'm overstaying. 9 years I did overstay.
Wow.
Just came as a tourist.
You stayed 9 years?
9 years,
Does that mean that they were looking for you?
yeah. No. There,
The
United
immigration
States,
service.
No, at that time there are so many that kind of people
Okay.
living in it. So therefore they started the issue green card for those unknown people because they really wanted who actually living in United States. So this is lottery green
Oh,
card.
Mhm.
So, but first they started do that lottery. People really afraid this is kind of scheme and catch the overstay people. So people doesn't apply.
I see.
But they officially announced this is not any snare or scheme. Even they don't care how many years you overstay. Or they didn't say officially, but people understand.
Mhm.
Don't worry. So I send an mail for the application. So and I got the green card, and I got the interview in Japan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you had to prove that you.
Yeah, but they said they didn't say anything, about you must prove or anything. But in the document,
Yeah.
that the lottery, no
Mhm.
matter what, as long as you are criminal, as not criminal,
Yes.
as long as you. So I thought we got lottery, okay, I got it, and I went to Japan, and the American officer in Japanese, American embassy. They knew I'm 9 years overstaying, and they are not happy about that. I think maybe so. That reason. Suddenly they said, you must prove you're a professional. You said you're a musician. How we know, you're a musician. And I kind of panicked. In the document, there are any part I must prove my professionality. And I kind of panic, but how? And anyway, you couldn't prove your professionality. We couldn't issue anything. Then they shut the door.
Ah.
And I panicked.
You panicked, yeah.
Yeah, and I asked so many people, yeah, okay. There are so many American people kind of laughing, They know what's happening. Even inside of the embassy, American embassy people kind of laughing, And some guy just came out, and he didn't even see me, but he just walking, don't give up. Anyway, you can do yourself, just try.
Mhm.
Then, anyway, I came back to my hotel, and I started calling the people, and can you borrow me the bass?
Oh.
Just one day, and there's no way. So, and the next day I went back the American embassy with bass.
With the bass.
But even security couldn't get it, not say yes. What? This is American embassy. What are I doing with this big things? But I still remember her name is Kim, and my officer inside, she said, I must prove my occupation. This is just the only way I able to prove. So those security guy went to inside of the building and asked American, and those police is Japanese, and the police came back. Oh, I really don't know how the Americans thinking. Anyway, I'm sorry, sir. You can come in with that big one. And I get inside, and I had interview, and I brought bass with a window, glass window.
Your glass window, yeah.
And he said, "Okay, show me." The funny thing is, inside, some officer brought the guitar, and she said, "We have a musician too, so you must play with our musician." Yeah, of course, he's one of the officers,
Okay.
So anyway, he started tuning the beat. His guitar is very out of tune. And hey, wait, unless you tuning up, I cannot play with you. And he started playing, the kind of red face. Oh, really? Oh, I suppose.
Oh, you mean he's got the
whistle?
Yeah.
Tuning whistle.
Tuning whistle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, still you're tuning it terrible."
You're lucky they didn't boot you out of the country.
Okay, and after that, okay, I want to play Sense Go Marching In, key of D. And he started Sense Go Marching In, and also he sang. There is a, like a window, the glass. He's inside, I'm outside, and everybody waiting, and everybody, what the hell is going on? Like, and the guardman of the American embassies, navies. Navies. The Navy's people coming to, the concert. They start clapping. Oh, we had a concert, man. Oh, good, sounds good.
That's
and I finished. And he said, "Can we play one more?" You are my sunshine. And also key of D.
Of course.
And he sang. And after that, my officer came asked me, "We have party later tonight. Can you play with party?" It's a kind of joke. And and I said, "Yeah, but it's very expensive. I'm very expensive." And she laughing. Then after that, she gave us.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a very funny story.
That is a great story. That's called paying dues. How did you make when you were here those 9 years? Were you had a day job, or were you playing also?
Yeah, I had the day job, dishwasher, or delivery for the lunch box, and I played street too.
You played in the street.
Street too.
Yeah.
And I have many roommates. So,
I see.
yeah.
Didn't you had a tough incident when you first arrived? Didn't you?
Yeah, second month.
You got what?
Second month.
Second month.
Yeah, after the jam session, and I'm just bought a hamburger at Burger King, and working. First 5 months I live in a hotel at near Times Square, and some guy with 2 girls screaming at me and dragging around and throw to the shutter, and I had 3 stitches.
He threw you through a window?
Yeah.
Oh.
No stitch. 3 stitches.
Yeah.
And no reason. He didn't pick up any my wallet or my wristwatch is here. Maybe he thought I'm somebody he knew. He don't like it. I don't know. And because police came, and but the good news is within 3 months, still I'm tourist. So they took care very well. They brought me hospital and surgery for free, everything for free.
Oh.
Yeah, so
because you were a tourist.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is just second month.
Second month.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't realize they had that kind of treatment for tourists. That's nice. How did you get hooked up with with Junior Mance?
I had a gig, Jazz at Noon. It's called Jazz at Noon. And anyway, they had every Friday, 12 to 2 p.m. They had every Friday had guests also, famous people. Junior Mance, there's so many. I think they got Tommy Flanagan, those people, you know, and he is one of the guests. And he used to bring his own bass. But at that time, his bass player couldn't make it. So I started to play with him. The first time we played with him, kind of clicked, you know. And he asked me, already I living in New York over 20 years, but I never spoke with the Junior. And the Junior asked me, how long you been here? And I said, already over 20 years. And the Junior said, why don't you call me? He's joking, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So then after that, he, you know, soon, you know, like two days after, he called me gig at Knickerbocker. And I thought just sub, you know. So I played Knickerbocker, and he, after we played 2 days, he asked me, you know, he need really regular bass player.
Oh, nice.
So then after that.
Well, someone asked, last night, a student sort of asked a question about why are some musicians really compatible from the start almost? And can you answer that? Why a bass player and a piano player can really work together right from the beginning?
Oh, that is, like I'm, you know, Asian. I use like a karma. Yeah, I don't know why. You know, sometimes two musicians love same kind of music, then started, both great musicians. But those two people never happen. Sometimes happen, those things happen. But sometimes really great musician, it's also musician, they start to, even they play basically different kind of music normally. But sometimes those two musicians start to play. Sometimes great things are happening. That kind of mystery, you know.
Yeah.
Just it's the same like a general relationship too. You know, sports sometimes. You know, not a star player altogether, not necessarily become good team. You know, everybody have a big ego, too much big ego, and their own style. Most of the time, no.
That is a great analogy. Yeah. I think it's, you know, when you think about the great people, Cannonball Adderley and Miles Davis, and those fellas didn't play together that long because they were destined to be their own leaders. And, you know, that's a good. And yesterday, when you were talking to a couple of the students here about bass solos, I think you had something interesting to say about bass solos. What do you feel about?
Yeah, bass player. Most important things is play bass, of course. You know. So, but okay, one of the reasons I really want to play bass is I love sound. But also at that time, 70s, there is so many super bass player came out. That means Stanley Clarke, Miroslav Vitros, Nils Henning, George Mraz, Eddie Gomez. So all those players, why they become famous means they start to play really high upper register. So people understand what they playing really. Otherwise, all the best players just play solo, low register. People don't know. Okay, this is bass solo, but just sound like bo 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 bo. So, but when they start octave higher, like a cello register, while they play the bass, just to play bass, but when they start bass higher register, people really knew the melody what the bass player playing.
Okay.
You know, instead of so oh yeah, that.
They couldn't distinguish the difference if they stayed down low.
Yeah, most of people
Yeah.
so yeah. And that's why, especially now, great pickup we are able to use.
Uh-huh.
So people can hear very well what bass player playing. So
Right.
and also everybody mostly when bass solo started, people started talking, because this is just a low note with the bo 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 bo.
Yes.
So if you play more distinct sound with the bass, so people still concentrate to the bandstand. So
I see.
it's not the time to go to the restroom because the bass already started.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
actually a couple jokes about that. How to get people to talk, make a bass solo. That's very neat.
Yeah.
I noticed last night when you were playing that when it was time for your solo, that you did something different to stand out, whether it was with a bow or going up high or.
Yeah.
Very
Especially, this trio is kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
So and the junior really wanted play talking together sometime. Not this is piano solo, not this is bass solo, not this is violin solo. He want to play sometime all together. Sometimes speak all together. He play something, even this is his solo, but I play something. That's why he made this trio.
Okay.
So he said that his first experience of this kind of music. It just happened.
Yeah.
So after he started hiring me, and we kind of developed way of the duo, just a duo, not the minus drum, just a duo. So duo music is different from the trio music. So he kind of started digging my intimate way of the create music. So and his student Michi, and he anyway always wanted to use sometime violin player.
Oh.
Yeah. And mostly classical training, the violin player couldn't play, cannot play with any key sometime, or So, but she's more, flexible,
Okay.
and so that's why this trio happened.
I wanted to play a brief piece of music for you.
Mm-hmm.
See if what you think of it.
Oh, this is he's a good photographer too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Slap bass.
Slapping, yes.
Milton Hinton.
Milt Hinton. To me, the bass player, when you don't have a drummer, the bass player becomes the drummer too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet Milt Hinton?
No. When I came 80s, he's still around.
Yes.
But when 80s, I'm kind of more like a new kind of jazz. I start appreciating this kind of old jazz style is after I was over 40. So now at 55, 15 years ago, I started listen really old style of the jazz, because my generation is fusion.
Fusion,
I play
yes.
electric bass too, and already Miles Davis' second quintet is kind of classic for me. Yeah, so I didn't dig it any so-called bebop. For me, it's really boring music.
Really?
Yeah, because in Japan, I'm just listening to those bebop record, just old recording, just 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and good line, maybe good line, but no bass solo, no drum solo. But I didn't know that is because of the limitation of the recording. But I thought that is way of the bebop. So that's why I came New York, 82, and I heard first time Barry Harris, he play like 5 minutes, 10 minutes solo and go to the, drum solo, bass solo, and interplay each other. Oh, wow! This is same like what I play in the fusion. More interplay, stretch out, and kind of surprised. I heard Barry Harris in person and all the bebop player. I see. This is jazz, and because of those recording at that time, my age, musician of my age, who play bebop, everybody play 2 or 3 minutes every song, because just they transcribe the record. Then kind of really boring that kind of music for me.
Okay.
So I didn't know about much those really how to they stretch up and conversation within the musician, joking or those things. Like those old recording for me like a kind of archive.
They're archive, yes.
That good bebop lines, but not for me. It's alive, So kind of past long time ago, people play this kind of music.
Right, because that music was about, well, it was only about 20 years old. More like 30, I guess, in 1980. Bebop being the late 40s and early 50s. Yeah, but that's really interesting about the recording technology and how it limited the players
and so of course American for the people they knew what is music because they go to the live music jazz club, the bebop.
Right.
But Japanese jazz music they really don't know just from the record 2 minutes record everybody play like that way. So.
That's a really interesting outlook. What's a typical week like for you?
Week?
I mean, like being a working musician. What do you do during a particular week? Do you do a lot of different things?
Yeah, different things. I cannot say this week or that week or this month or that month. Every year, every time different. I cannot predict. So every time.
So what do you do besides play with Junior?
I play with other people.
Yeah.
And I have every Tuesday I have a jam session, house band. So. Yeah. I don't teach.
Okay.
So I'm just a play. I want to.
You're
play.
just a player. Is it an? I don't know how to ask this. Is it an easy life?
For me, it's easy. I mean, because I don't have any choice. I really wanted to, live this way, and I taught with the school in Japan too. But I really want to play, I just play. I'm not a good teacher, so yeah. Because if you know this way, then if so many things financially, of course I'm sometimes scared about financially things. But now I'm 58 years. Always something bad happening. Then next time something happening, okay. Where I came after 9 years, I'm illegal alien, and 9 years, and I'm just playing the street, and I started going back to Japan because I don't have any career, just playing all street, and then I got the green card. So that means you must stay. okay, go on. And after I got the green card, I married. I divorced already, but it had a good 17 years. Yeah, and after that, always something, I able to follow.
It sounds like your karma.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and are you a citizen now?
No, I have green card.
Okay.
Holder,
Yeah, so you can stay here.
Yeah, whatever I want. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have any other goals? I mean, do you have a goal of leading your own band, or?
Yeah, I think jazz life, they don't have any goals. Like every day is important. You know, like classical, okay, I have a concert for the Beethoven. That is one of the goals, you know, right? And going to become professor some university. But jazz life is, every day is kind of new things, sometimes unexpected things happen on the band stage. On the bandstand, like a junior yesterday suddenly started to play different keys.
Yes.
So, anyway, always young people, the parents, always ask me a question. You know, my son or my daughter study jazz music and now wants to live in. How many years she able to get somewhere, or she had any goal, and I always telling those parents, there is no goal for jazz musician. There's no goal, you know, like you said, having a concert. Of course, you can do the concert, but the jazz music is not about the music for the concert. Because every day you play somewhere, that it's that most important.
I see.
Every day it's music. So until, you know, last moment.
That's a really, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, it's casual.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Junior Mance.
Yeah.
He's been playing since the mid-40s, and he's still doing it, and he acts like what's happening tonight is my goal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And so therefore even he started play the music even for sound check, for the just sound check. Already he's really meaning. No sound check music. Sometimes people ask him to stop.
Yeah. Right, I know what you mean.
And when he casually starts some songs, like yesterday, same song with different key, when he started, he cannot stop until he finished.
Oh.
That is really jazz musician's life, you know. When you start music, that is the goal. So in a way, when you start music, goal is until finish that song. That is the goal. How you able to create good music just now, you know. That is, that is it. I really love that spirit of jazz music, you know. Not some future I able to do, you know, this concerto. Or, no.
Yeah. Who are your 3 favorite bass players?
Ray Brown, Sam Jones, Paul Chambers.
Okay.
Because I love their rhythm.
You love
rhythm feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bass player, I think, has to have a certain. They have to have their ego in place. I mean, that's my sense of it. You have to be happy providing, as Milt Hinton called it, providing a rhythmic service.
Yes.
And then you'll have your moments in the spotlight too.
Yeah. The rhythm is most important for jazz bass player.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I want to thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Your story about being covered with snow, walking. What part of the city were you in?
Midtown, near Times Square. Yeah.
Why won't a cab driver pick up a bass player on those kinds of nights?
Because they are busy with just ordinary people. You know, why they have so much busy and stop for the bass player with soaked up bass and snow and everything inside the car. They don't want to bother. So that's why.
How many blocks did you have to walk that night?
40 minutes walk.
40 minutes, covered with snow.
Yeah.
Again, paying dues, right? Well, thanks for your time today. I look forward to your concert tonight.
All right.